This episode is brought to you by United Airlines. When you want to make the most of your vacation, book with United. They're an airline that cares about your travels as much as you do. United is transforming the flying experience with Bluetooth connectivity, screens, power at every seat, and bigger overhead bins to help fit everyone's bag. And with their app, you can skip the bag check line, get live updates, and more. Change the way you fly. Book your next trip today at united.com.
This episode is brought to you by Vital Farms. Vital Farms is keeping it bullshit-free. Pasture-raised eggs means their hens enjoy outdoor access year-round while foraging on a buffet of local grasses. You can even find the farm name of where the eggs were laid on the side of each carton. Vital Farms knows you'll taste the difference of eggs made with fresh air and sunshine. Look for the black carton at the grocery store and learn more at vitalfarms.com.
Hello, and welcome to the Artist Pivot Podcast. I'm your host, Ayana Major-Bay, and on today's episode, we're taking a deep dive into the creative journeys of my guest, Marci J. Duncan and Kerry Sandell. We discuss nonlinear career paths and making peace with one's decisions, the significance of discovering personal passions, and how viewing industry changes as opportunities to create authentic storytelling. We touch upon the dichotomy of fear preventing people from pursuing opportunities or keeping them trapped in unfulfilling paths, and gain insight into Marci and Kerry's personal career pivots, from delayed dreams to embracing those nonlinear paths in the arts. We explore the organic beginnings of their collaborative play Dissonance, a powerful narrative about interracial friendship and candid conversations on race. They share about the safe, vulnerable space they created for honest artistry and the emotional impact of their play on diverse audiences, including heartfelt revelations from viewers and thought-provoking discussions that were sparked. This episode is an exploration of artistry, authenticity, and meaningful connections through the lens of theater. Let's get into it. Come take a listen and let your inner artist play, creating your dreams step by step every day. If you're feeling lost and don't know what to do, always remember that you can pivot to the artist pivot. The Artist Pivot. Hello, and welcome to the Artist Pivot Podcast. I am your host, Ayana Major-Bay, a multi-hyphenated artist, and I am glad you are here. A couple housekeeping things before we get into the conversation. First, to keep up to date on all the things happening with the podcast, subscribe to the monthly newsletter at ayanabay.com/podcast. Second, to show your support for the show, you can get podcast merchandise at ayanabay.com/merch. And third, please make sure to subscribe, rate, and review this podcast wherever you listen to podcasts, and share this with at least one person. Enjoy the episode. We Audition is the video chat community where actors can audition, self-tape, rehearse, and get expert industry advice. Get instant self-tape readers through video chat, browse through the dedicated actor meditations, podcasts, and books, meet casting directors in the virtual green rooms, and also make money by becoming a reader for other actors. If you join We Audition and use code PIVOT, you will receive a 25% discount on your membership. Link in the show notes. All right, y'all. So on the podcast today, joining me is Marci J. Duncan and Kerry Sandell. And I'm so excited. I'm so excited. First of all, I just want to say hello. Welcome to the Artist Pivot Podcast.
Thank you. Hello.
So glad to be here.
Yay. I'm happy to have y'all. So I'm going to start with my two favorite questions.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, how are your hydration levels today? Have you had enough water? As they both pick up their water bottles.
Yeah, always sipping on the water.
Absolutely.
Love it. Love it. Good answer. Good answer. And then if I were to send you a text message that said, how are you doing? How's your day going? How you feeling? But you could only respond in emojis only, what would you text me?
Let me remind myself.
I think I would respond with the emoji where it's blowing out air, like, whew, I made it. I've been in back-to-back appointments every 30 minutes since 8:30 this morning. So
Oh my goodness.
I'm sick of hearing
Wow.
myself talk at this point.
Wow. Wow. Thank you. Thank you for your presence. Thank you.
I'm glad to be doing this. It's great. It's a nice break.
I think my emoji would be the one where they're going, I don't know. Okay.
Okay.
I have had a class today and I've had so many questions being thrown my way, and I just want to go, I don't know. Ask somebody else. I don't.
Understood. Thank you for that imaginary text. Thank you so much. And
You're
I relate to both of those emojis. There are days, right, when I'm like, I know I'm the one who has to make decisions or give the answer, but I quite frankly, I don't know. I don't know.
I wish that were acceptable. I wish it were, because then they still look at you like, you must know.
Right. You must know, or at least can you figure it out for me?
Exactly.
Because somebody has to know besides me. And I'm like, but why?
I give up.
Oh, yes. Thank you for that. Thank you. Thank you. So, y'all, I am excited to talk to Marci and Kerry about their play, Dissonance, that's been touring the country. However, first, I want to talk about some of the pivots in your career, right? Because getting to this play probably wasn't something that was on your mind way back when you first started your careers, right? And so I would like to know, what was a crucial point in your career that you decided, maybe I want to do something different. Maybe I should pivot. Maybe what I thought I wanted isn't what I want, right? Because I think as artists, sometimes we are like, oh, I gotta pivot, but I want that though, right? So yeah, that's my first question to you. When was there a moment that you were like, well, guess I gotta do something different?
Kerry, you want to start this one?
Yeah, so I pivoted right out the gate. For me, I made a very deliberate decision about when to start my family. And I knew my husband starting his law degree and starting a family, and then also trying to pursue my acting career was not going to be a thing. Realistically, something was going to sacrifice to the point where it'd be too big of a sacrifice for everything we were going through at the time. So I put it on hold for years and years and years, and was at peace with that decision. And of course, it is, like you said, it's that, no, but that's my thing. And if I give it up, I can't ever go back to it. And that's not true. And it doesn't have to look like a Roman numeral outline for all of us to, at 22, graduate, go to New York, pound the pavement. It doesn't. And for most of us, it doesn't look like that. So having come to peace with that decision before I really went after it, then when I came back and I was ready and my family was at a position for me to pick that hat back up again, I was okay with that. And I also had the parameters for my family, what it looked like, of what I can do and what I can't do. And now that my children are older and I've got the freedom to do some of the things that we're doing, that Marci and I are doing. And I can't speak to her because she seems to have like way more hours in the day than I do and way more energy. I don't know how she gets everything done. But for me, with my kids being a little bit older, I have the freedom we're going to San Diego in the next 2 weeks with our show. We were just in Atlanta. We were in North Carolina before that. That wasn't with my husband's career, with our family and the age my children all were, that wasn't feasible before this time. And so now I'm very much at peace with what that looks like, and to have it in such a way where we're able to focus on our show, which has been just this huge, beautiful blessing and passion of ours. There's great freedom at it. So for me, I didn't go to a point and then turn and take a total pivot. I kind of started from the gate going, I'm got to put this on hold for all these other things I'm wanting to pursue right now.
Understood. I just want to pinpoint something that you said of like, it doesn't have to be this Roman numeral, like outline, numeric, like point A, point B, point C for all of us, right? Which I think, and let me just speak for myself. Coming out of school, however many so odd years ago, I was like, oh, gonna do this, and then that, and then that's gonna lead to this, and then that's gonna lead to this. But really discovering, no, A plus B does not equal C. A plus B equals Y times X divided by 3, multiply it again, and then you're gonna end up over there in that corner.
Exactly.
And so, right, realizing, yeah, it's not gonna be in the order you think, but also that still hit me, Kerry, of like you making peace with it before you even like did it. Like I think that's a big like chunk of something to also like unwrap, to be like, oh, I'm making peace with this before I'm even going to pivot.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's not a failure to not follow the path that you think, because life doesn't work that way. It's circuitous, and sometimes we end up on a road we never planned on, but that can be a beautiful thing. Yeah. It's just realizing we're not all on the same journey, and that that's a good thing. It's a good thing. It's what brought us to where we are today. And I'm certainly a different artist than I would have been at 25 or whatever. That, no, more than that.
Right. I get it. And Marci, what about you?
I love that too. What Kerry said about making peace with it, because that was a challenge for me in the beginning, because, like you said, I had a picture of what my life would be. And I was very much going in that direction. Ever since I was little, that's all I've ever wanted to be. I wanted to be an actress. I wanted to be on somebody's television or movie. And that's all I've ever wanted. And that's all I've ever pursued. Like, there was not a plan B for me. Like, I would not entertain any other conversations. And people would get clicked on if they tried to convince me otherwise. So I was senior year in college, and I had made up in my mind, okay, when I graduate, I'm going to move to California and I'm going to do this thing. Senior year, I got pregnant, and that was a big pivot for me, because I realized at that point, okay, I have another human being I need to take care of. But at the same time, I want to show him what it is to pursue your dreams. And also, I need to be able to support this little one. So I said, okay, instead of moving to California right away, I'm going to pivot and I'm going to go to grad school. That way, I know for a fact that I can have a job while I do this thing that I love. Right. And so that's what I did. I took my son to grad school, and I really, 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 really am so happy that I went to grad school, because it was there that I realized that I had a love for teaching. Like, I did not know that before. I had no idea that I loved teaching. And it wasn't until they gave me a syllabus and a book in grad school and was like, go teach that class. Right. And it felt to me like I feel when I'm on stage, right? It felt to me like that. And I'm like, oh my God, what is happening? The plan is changing. Oh my gosh, what's going on? So I ended up moving to Orlando after I graduated from grad school, because I had met someone there, and I had gotten an agent, and I realized that I could start working from Orlando. They got a lot of calls there. And that's what I did. I graduated, took me and my son, we went and moved to Orlando, and I said, I'm going to work here 2 years. I'm going to get my SAG card. And as soon as I get my SAG card, I'm moving to California. So I had to bring that thing back. When I tell you, it was 2 years to the day, I got a phone call from my mentor, who was a professor at FAMU, where I went to undergrad, Florida A&M University. She called and she said, Marci, what do you think about coming to FAMU and teaching in the acting program? And I said, no, I can't do that. I'm moving to California. I'm going to be an actress. This is what I got to do. So she said, I hear you, and I want to support that for you. What if you gave me 2 years? What if you gave me 2 years, come teach for these 2 years, and after those 2 years, you can move to California, you will have more money. She started putting that thing together. And I was like, okay, another pivot. We're going to pivot again. So I went home, back to my hometown, and I started teaching in the theater program at FAMU. Mm-hmm. Honey, 2 years came and went. 2 years came and went. But what I will say is that I kept my feet into performance. I was still performing. I was still auditioning. I was still doing it. And I was hustling like a crazy person, but I was still doing it. Sometimes I would drive all the way back to Orlando to audition. Sometimes I would go to, because that was back in the day where you actually had to go to the audition.
Yes.
Right. Right. Honey, I would get on that road and I was determined. I was determined to fulfill my dreams. Mm-hmm. And I remember the day I decided to stop teaching because I felt I need to give it 100%. Mm-hmm. And it was about almost 10 years in, I was teaching at FAMU. And I said, I got to stop. And I did. I stopped teaching. Me and my husband, we moved, and I started working professionally. Mm-hmm. And I started giving it my all. And I would travel to different theaters to do different shows. Mm-hmm. And I got an agent here, and I was working. And I missed teaching. I missed teaching.
Yeah.
So I ended up starting to teach again. And I'm still here at the University of West Florida. Mm-hmm. And the thing that I'm most proud of when we talk about pivot, because I'm still working professionally. I'm still directing professionally. I'm still pursuing my dreams at however old I am. I'm a grown woman. Mm-hmm. But I am still pursuing my dreams, and I get the opportunity to show my students what it's like to create your own career, to create it for yourself. And it took me so long, because when I tell you, I would get downright depressed when I would think about having to give up my dreams. I mean, just the very thought of it, I could cry immediately. And it wasn't until later on in my life, and I'm going to say probably during the pandemic, when I realized that my career can look the way I want it to look.
Yes.
And that I could create the work that I want to see. That I didn't have to wait for other people to give me an opportunity, that I could provide that opportunity for myself. And now that changed the game for me.
Yeah. Oh, completely. And I think that of like creating what you want your career to look like is so like, I don't even know, that should be like on a poster somewhere in every theater school or acting class. Like it's one of those like, no, please create what you want to see, create what you want your career to look like. But I think it's very scary because you're like, well, what do I want it to look like?
Yeah.
And I think that's the part where it's like, you know what? I just have to kind of trust myself.
Yes.
And the road will be shown to me.
Because I would have never known that teaching was a passion of mine had I not gone to grad school. Right? I read somewhere, I think it was in The Purpose-Driven Life, where it was talking about we have so many skills that we possess. We only utilize a small percentage of them. Simply because we don't expose ourselves to different environments, different experiences, taking risks. We don't even uncover them, because we're too afraid to expose ourselves to different things. Right? And just imagine how much we're missing out on. Because we're chasing this one thing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And it takes time. I agree. It takes time. It takes time to realize that my authentic true self is the best gift I can give to the industry. It's the best gift I can give to my family, to everybody, but particularly to the industry, because that is what I truly am. And that's what I possess. right? And instead of trying to cultivate this persona to look a certain way, I can just be myself. I can just be myself and create the work that I want to create.
Right.
And isn't that so much more interesting?
Yeah.
I would rather watch that all day long.
Yes.
All day long.
Absolutely.
But it's funny how fear can keep you from pursuing something, but it can also keep you stuck pursuing something that maybe you shouldn't still be pursuing.
Yep.
Ooh, that. That right there. Oh, we do, because we talk about the fear, right, keeping you from pursuing something.
Yeah.
But like, excellent point of, fear can keep you in something you should no longer be pursuing.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes. That's a word right there.
I know that's right.
So my next question to you would be, how did you two meet? Like, how did this relationship start? This like co-working, co-actors, like what? I want to know how this started.
Well, it's funny because, like I said, I teach here at the University of West Florida in Pensacola, and Kerry talked about this in her pivot when she came back to school and decided to finish her theater degree. And I so happened was here. I had just got here when Kerry decided to come back and finish her degree. So immediately I had great respect for Kerry because, first of all, Kerry was a grown woman and took the assignments differently and was always doing what she was supposed to be doing, and not only doing it at the bare minimum. She didn't do it at the bare minimum. She came with excellence. And so immediately I had respect for her.
Yeah.
And she was very talented. But that pretty much was where it stayed, right? And it wasn't until after the George Floyd murder, and we were kind of in the throes of COVID, that I was doing a show, a one-woman show at Emerald Coast Theater Company. And Kerry came to see the show. And after the show, she said, "Can I talk to you?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." So we stepped over to the side and Kerry asked me, "How are you doing?" And I knew exactly what that meant. I knew what that meant because we were in the throes of George Floyd. There was a lot of social unrest. And for her to stand 10 toes down in my face and ask me, "How are you doing?" It was very striking to me. It was very striking. And she also said, "I want to know, I'm interested in understanding the conversations you're having with your son versus the conversations I'm having with my son, because we have sons around the same age." And she said, "And I think we should write a play about it." Now, I hadn't seen Kerry in some years at that point.
Okay.
But immediately I said, yes. Immediately. It was just, I just felt.
You felt it.
Yep. I just felt it. And Kerry talks about being led to talk to me after that play. And I think it was the same dynamic. She was led to ask me, and I was certainly led to say yes. And that's really where it started.
Right. Okay. So yes, that's how Dissonance started. So with that, it's one of those like, and some people, if you're listening, like some people believe, some people don't, but whatever your spiritual, religious, non-religious, whatever it is, I am a firm believer of like, there are things that are just meant to happen.
Yeah.
And if you are open and aware enough, your intuition will lead you to that. So Kerry, when you're like, I felt led to say something and ask her and talk to her, and you felt led to say yes, to me, those are things that you cannot kind of write those, right? Those happen when you are, in essence, obeying your intuition, obeying that inner voice that's like, you should go do that.
Yeah.
Right. And I think as artists, that also creates the art that we want to see, because it's like, oh, yeah, that came from me listening to my intuition, listening to the call, listening to whatever it may be. Right.
Absolutely.
I think that's beautiful.
Absolutely.
And, we couldn't have told this story at any other time.
Right.
At any other time, we could not have told this story together because the circumstances that happened had to happen in order for us to come together at this point in our lives and tell this story. You know, it was the time.
And so this story, Dissonance, asks the question, can a white woman and a Black woman who have been friends for 20 years have an honest and candid conversation about race and their friendship survive? And so in order to create this, we needed to have these conversations, and we weren't intimate friends at the time. So that was also kind of a blessed circumstance, the way that everything occurred with us being locked down with COVID. We just sat and started having Zoom meetings. We opened a Google Doc and we started having some of these conversations in this safe container where we could sit and we could dwell and pray and think about, how do I feel about this? How do I need to answer it? And get very, very open and very candid with things that I might not normally ask Marci about. How do you feel about interracial dating? Or what is your first awareness of race? And, all these conversations that ended up building some of the concepts and the backbone for what ultimately became Dissonance.
Okay. Oh, I love that so much. So then with the creation of the play, what did you find was, I think, the hardest part, but also the easiest part?
That's a good question. I think the hardest part for me, if I'm honest, was getting to the core of my belief system about certain topics about race. And some of the core of what I believed was good, and some of it wasn't good. And also because I've never had a conversation about race to a person outside of my race, and I talk about race a lot, but it just happened to be with my Black friends, right? So this intentional conversation was very intimidating for me because I had a mistrust of white women. Based on some other circumstances that have happened in my life in relationship with white women. So I had a deep mistrust of white women. So writing this material and having these conversations was really, it was difficult. It was difficult because I had never said some of these things to a white woman before in my life. And we did. We got down to the absolute truth by the end of this process. We got down to the absolute truth, which is why the dialogue in the play is so relatable, because a lot of that dynamic and a lot of that dialogue came directly from our conversations, because we had to get it right. If I were to say this to you, what would be your response? How would you answer that? So if I were to say to you, you can't date my brother. If I were to say that to you, because my brother is Black and you're white, you can't date him. I don't want you to date him. What would be your response? Right? And she would honestly answer, why not me? So a lot of that dialogue was very hard to get it out and get it on the page. But once we got it out and got on the page and we started seeing how people were affected, because we thought we had a good thing, but to see the audience respond in the way that they did, it was like, oh my goodness, it's not just us, right? These people see themselves.
And I think, the process, starting it to me was easy because I just, like I said, I felt like compelled and it just happened. And we didn't start out, with this great mantle on our shoulders saying, I want to write a race play and this is going to be amazing. We just were trying to make sense of the world. And as a theater artist, that's how you do it. It's narratives, it's dialogue, it's so that part was very easy. But, like Marci said, so we're in this safe container we created. We had agreed, let's be quick to forgive. Let's be honest with each other. And we were very proud of ourselves and, very pat ourselves on the back of look how good we're being. Look how honest. And then when we started getting on our feet and trying to block it. And there's something magical about when something is not 100% true, your body doesn't align with it.
Mm-hmm.
And so as we started blocking it, and our wonderful director and dramaturg, Dr. James Webb, would call us out, and he'd be like, okay, I know what you think you're saying, but what are you really saying? And so feeling comfortable enough in the room to go, well, I don't really want to go there. And just coming back to, okay, but if I said this, what would your natural response be? And then feel it out that way and get even more candid, more honest, and feeling, the safety to do that in this environment. So it was, I'm not going to say hard, but it wasn't easy. It was, there was a level of vulnerability that all three of us, as we were workshopping this, had to kind of agree to.
There were moments when my director sent me back to the table and said, okay, this monologue is not it. There's something deeper that you need to say. So go back to the table and revisit it and write it. And I would come back. I would, do my thing, come back. And he's like, still ain't it. It's still not it. I need you to be brutally honest. Just say it. Just say it. And I was so fearful. Because, like I said, I had never said these things out loud to a white woman before in my life. And I didn't want to offend. I didn't want to hurt. I didn't want to, do all of that. But he reminded us, he was like, love is in this room. You are safe. Love is in this room. You can say it. Right. We all are going to be here. Nobody's going anywhere. And that last time, sitting at my desk, writing that monologue, I'm telling you, tears and tears and tears, because it was like, my body was like, don't you say that. But I knew I had to.
Yeah.
I knew I had to. And I just put it all on the page. And I remember James read it and he was like, well, that's honest. Because once it came, it came, and I put it all on the page. So I think that was one of the most difficult moments for me.
And it's interesting because the two characters in the play, they've been friends for 20 years. They're godmothers to each other's children. They're starting a business together, but they have done that exact same thing. Their entire relationship is anytime they get to a point where it's like, I don't know if I should go there, they avoid the elephant in the room, which is how they've gone all this time without really seeing one another truly, and why they need to have this conversation.
Right. And I think, unfortunately, a lot of us do that, right? We get to we're even in close friendships, family, whatever it may be. Yeah, we're close. We've known each other for 20 years. But right, when we get to that cliff, I'm gonna go this way, right?
Which is understandable, but for that intimacy that these two characters as friends need, if they're going to be committed to one another, to start this business together, to be in relationship with one another, it's time to stop playing. Are you my friend or are you not my friend?
Yes, exactly. And Marci, you mentioned earlier about this challenging your belief system and like pinpointing some limiting beliefs that you had. Have you all found that, or I guess I should phrase this, has anyone who's seen the play come back to you and said, oh, it's made me think about this? Like, oh, I've identified some limiting beliefs that I've had by watching this play.
Honey, I'm going to let Kerry tell one, but this is the one that just happened most recently.
Okay.
And it was so moving. This Black woman, beautiful Black woman, came up to us and she was visibly choked up. Like she was struggling with her emotions because she was trying to talk to us, but her emotions kept choking her. But basically what she said was, I had a white friend. We tried to have this conversation. And I realize now that I went about it the wrong way. I have to call her and apologize. And they hadn't talked to each other in years.
Yeah.
But you could tell the realization of, I did not even think of that perspective. I did not even think about that. And she said, I have got to call her. I'm going to call her and I'm going to apologize.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. It was so beautiful.
That gave me chills. Yeah. Oh.
I would say one of my favorites that I think about is our first show that we did in Pensacola at the Gordon, which is a little theater that is located in the Belmont de Villiers community that we set the play. It's a historically Black neighborhood, great area in Pensacola. And there was a gentleman that came that was from a more rural city in this area, white guy, close to 60, mid to late 50s. And after the play, he said, I've never thought about this in this way. I've got some thinking to do. And that to me is just like such a like, okay, you're anointed now. It just, that's exactly what we want. You know, we're not trying to prescribe, this is, 3 steps in how you have a conversation about race. But let's be willing to see someone else's perspective. Let's be willing to listen to someone else's experience that's completely different from ours, instead of prejudging with everything we've either believed culturally or been taught to believe by our family, and not really assessed, does that align truly with my beliefs? And so for me, that was fantastic. Just having him say, I've got to go back. I've got some thinking to do. And you cannot ask for more for an audience member.
Right. Oh, yes. Yes. You mean you couldn't ask for more for someone's like light bulb to turn on to be like, yeah, I got some thinking to do. You're like, we did our job.
Yeah.
We did our job.
Yeah.
Our job is not to preach. It's not to tell you what to think, but it is to shine a light or a mirror on things and say, okay, are you willing to look at this from another perspective and let people take it from there.
Yeah. So my question is, have your students seen this play?
My students have.
Yeah.
Yeah, they always
let me know what they think. Okay.
Oh, God. So when we first did it in Pensacola, I think about 40 of my students came. And it was so beautiful to see them out there. Of course, after the show, they were all crying. All of them were crying. But what they say is, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you, for pursuing your dreams and coming back and letting us know what's happening currently. And they're proud that I'm touring this show that I wrote to as many places as I can. They tell me on a regular basis, I'm proud of you. And that's, to me, I'm like, that's the best. That's the best.
And what a model, they can do it. It's real, and you can do it the way you want to do it. So that's amazing.
Yeah.
That is absolutely you are the blueprint in essence, because we're like, what's the blueprint? Somebody just I can follow it, like what have you. I would say, yes, you're a model, you're a blueprint. Be like, I am, but please know, adjust accordingly to your life.
Hello.
Adjust accordingly. All right.
Hello.
You can take what works for you, leave what doesn't.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Yes. So my next question to you would be, what would be your word of wisdom, your nugget of advice to, your students, but also other artists, I think in the throes of pivoting, of being okay, coming to peace, coming to terms, creating their own art and their own lives? Because I honestly think that pre-pandemic, arts industry is not coming back.
Not.
So we have to be okay with that, right? So what would be your nuggets of wisdom?
I would say it's okay. It's okay. And I know the heart pain of having to make such a huge pivot I know what that feels like. And it does feel sometimes like, this is it.
Yeah.
This is it. It's the end. But it's so not. It is so not the end. And because the industry has changed and is changing, that is an opportunity for us to create. It's an opportunity for us to create. And the thing about it is, I want to tell artists everywhere, pay attention. Pay attention to the life you live, because that's where your story is. That's where the story comes from. Your world, your perspective, your thoughts, your experiences. That's where the organic story is. Pay attention. Pay attention to the life that you're living, right? Instead of wasting so much time trying to get somewhere down the road.
Yeah.
Pay attention to what's happening now and what has happened, because that's where your story is. That's what the story is.
Absolutely. I agree with that 100%. And a lot of times it's the pain points in our life, the stuff that we didn't want to have to walk through. And somehow that was just the journey we ended up on.
Yeah.
Or, when we're having to recalibrate and life sends us a different direction, a lot of times those pain points are where we do the most growth as people. And we've got the most to say. And so, I think that not despising some of those bad seasons that we have and, taking advantage of what can I learn from this? How do I make sense of it? And what is it? Why am I the person I am today because of that? And what does that look like translating into creating your own art?
Yeah. Right.
So to me, it's the same thing. And it's that being willing to address the uncomfortable, unhappy, or ugly seasons.
Yeah. Because that's what makes our play so relatable.
Yeah.
Because it's honest. It's just honest. It's real feelings, real thoughts, real conversations. And people can relate to real. And yes, it was pain points. Yes, it was difficult at times to be that honest. Yes, it was very vulnerable. You had to be very vulnerable. Yes, 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 and yes. But I think that's the seasoning in our play that makes it so relatable and delicious to our audience, because they relate. They can absolutely relate.
Right.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of us, and this is not universal, but I think a lot of us, we want to have that genuine, authentic, artistic experience. We all have art in our pocket 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
We don't need more entertainment.
No.
We do need art. I shouldn't say we have art in our pocket. We have entertainment in our pocket.
Yes, we do. Yes.
There's something about authentic art. And if I'm going to spend my time and my life investing in that, I don't want it to just be frou-frou entertainment. I want it to be something significant and impactful that feeds my soul as well as others.
Something with substance. Yeah. Something with so making me think, because you said seasoning, that's a hearty meal, right? Like you're like, oh, I'm full from that. Yes. I feel great. That was hearty.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, I love that so much. So much. Thank y'all for sharing. Yes. So I would like to know where everybody can find you out here on the interwebs. Please give me all the information about the play, the next touring dates, your personal Instagrams if you have them, and where everybody can find you out there.
Okay, Kerry usually helps me with this because I can't remember nothing, but I do know this. Our website, you can always track our tour on our website, and it is dissonanceplay.com. And you can also engage with us. You can send us a message if you have a theater and you want to bring us to your theater, or if you want a sample of the play, so forth and so on. Send us a message and we do respond immediately. We also have social media. We have Instagram and Facebook, and they are both Dissonance Play or Dissonance The Play. There we go. See, I got it. Dissonance The Play on Facebook and Instagram, and on TikTok too. We're doing a little TikTok as well.
Right. Hey.
So that's how you can find us. You can also join our MVP group. Those wonderful individuals help to support us because we know that theater is one of the most expensive forms of entertainment to produce. It is very expensive. And so our MVP supporters often support us and help us spread the word about our shows. The next place we're going to is...
We're going to be at the Common Ground Theater in San Diego the first and second weekend in October. So this coming weekend and the next. So you can look at Common Ground. We're getting a link set up on our page right now for tickets. And some of the things we've got coming up as well. We're going to be in Roanoke. We're looking to be, right now we're in talks with Philadelphia and Connecticut, and we're going to be in the Central Florida area and the Villages in February. So we've got a lot coming up that we're going to be posting to our website soon. And then just a lot of people that have reached out to us that do want to facilitate bringing us to their community, whether it's a professional theater, a university, something like that. So we're always happy. We think we've had so many audience members over the last 2 years say, everybody should see this play. And we're like, we agree. And so we're always happy to, if we can make it work, to come to your community and perform Dissonance.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Thank you for that. And I will put everything in the show notes, y'all, so it's easily clickable. And Marci and Kerry, I must say to you that I acknowledge you, I celebrate you, and I uplift you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I felt that
You're welcome.
in my Noah, honey. I felt that. I appreciate that.
You're so very welcome. You're so very welcome. Thank you so much for joining me.
Yay!
So glad.
Anytime.
Thank you.
This podcast is produced by Ayana Major Bay. Editor is Kieran Niement. Theme song lyrics written by Ayana Major Bay and Melissa Victor, with performance by Ayana Major Bay. Please make sure to subscribe, rate, and review this podcast wherever you listen to podcasts.
Part of the Boundless Audio Podcast Network.